Every afternoon, an older man with a faded backpack sat near gate 32 at a regional airport. He never boarded a flight, never asked for help. He just watched, quiet, alert still. Staff thought he was homeless. Until one day, a traveler collapsed, and this man called out coordinates instead of gate numbers, stabilized the situation, and relayed instructions with frightening precision. When airport security demanded ID, he handed them a card that made their supervisor stand at attention. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like the video. Sunset Ridge Regional wasn't a busy airport. For gates, 2 coffee kiosks, 1 security lane that buzzed more from tired shoes than trouble. Gate 32 didn't even lead to a jetway, just an outdoor path to prop planes and short hauls. But every day at 3:45 p.m., a man appeared. Old denim jacket, tan boots, gray stubble, and darker eyes. He sat in the same seat, 3rd row from the window, always facing the tarmac. No ticket, no bag check, just a faded canvas backpack and a folded newspaper he never read. Staff called him Mr. Gate. Maintenance joked he was part of the building. But every regular knew. If something fell off, his eyes shifted first. No one knew his name, and no one asked. TSA gave him side glances. Airlines ignored him. But the janitor, Luis, offered him coffee once. The man nodded, took the cup, and slid a wrapped granola bar across in return. Unspoken agreement. Then, on a Tuesday, everything changed. Flight 482 from Salt Lake landed late. Passengers trickled in, one limping slightly, face pale. Cameron, the gate attendant, didn't notice right away. But Mr. Gate stood, walked to the man without a word, placed a hand under his elbow, supported him, then called out, firm, sharp, like command. This one's crashing. Call medical, low blood sugar. Gate 32. Cameron blinked. The man turned to her. Glucose tabs. Pocket bag left side. Move. She moved. When the EMTs arrived, Mr. Gate had the man reclined, hydrated, stable. Vitals noted on a napkin. Breathing calm. Who are you? One of them asked. He simply stood, stepped back, and nodded once. By the time the manager came, he was already back in his seat, watching the tarmac. Security approached. Cautious. Sir, we need to see ID. The man reached into his coat, pulled out a leather folder. Inside, a laminated card. Edges worn. Text minimal. DoD contract consultant, active reserve access, Tier 3. The supervisor took one look. Saluted. Cameron stared. Later that shift, she found a handwritten note on her monitor. You did well. 12 seconds faster next time. Signed, R. No last name. Some people don't wear uniforms anymore, but they never stop scanning rooms like maps. If you've ever known someone who didn't say they were trained, but you knew, type he was ready in the comments. After the incident at Gate 32, people started watching the man more carefully. Not with suspicion, but with awareness. TSA officer Jill said she'd seen how he moved. Slow? Yes, but not uncertain. Every step had purpose. Cameron, the gate attendant, replayed the footage. The way he stabilized the man. How he scanned his surroundings first, not last. How his voice dropped into a tone that made people listen. She asked her supervisor if they had a file on him. Not unless he's bought a ticket, came the reply. So she checked. He hadn't flown in over 2 years. Hadn't checked in, scheduled, or passed through the gate. But he came. Every day. At 3:45. Sat down. Looked out. Waited. Luis, the janitor, tried to chat with him once. You were military, right? The man nodded once. A while back. Why here? Visibility. Easy access to exit routes. Calm patterns. Luis blinked. You talk like a strategist. The man just sipped his coffee and said, old habits. That Friday, a woman in her 60s arrived frantic. Her granddaughter had gone to the bathroom and never returned. Panic rose. Calls went out. But Mr. Gates stood and walked toward the side lounge without hesitation. He didn't yell, didn't run. He walked to the vending machine corner, leaned down, and said, You're not in trouble. Your grandma's just scared. From behind the bench, a tiny face peeked out. The girl crawled forward and took his hand. How'd you know? Cameron asked. She chose the shadow, not the exit. That's fear, not flight. Again, he returned to his seat. No spotlight. No thanks needed. But this time, Cameron left a coffee beside him. No lid. No questions. He nodded. That night, airport management reviewed the ID he'd presented earlier in the week. It scanned. Not fake, but redacted in places even their system couldn't decrypt. The regional security head, a former Marine, stared at it for a long time before saying, "Don't question him. Just be glad he sits here. Some people are never off duty. They just change where they sit." If someone you know still scans exits, listens more than they talk, and reacts faster than anyone else, type he sees before in the comments. By the start of the new month, Mr. Gate became a fixture. Staff didn't check his ID anymore. Instead, they started checking the time. If it was near 3:45 p.m., someone would say, "He's probably on his way." No one questioned it. But not everyone was comfortable. A new airline manager named Drew started asking questions. "He doesn't work here. He doesn't fly. Why is he allowed in daily?" Cameron defended him. "He's helping." "Helping what?" "He's a liability if something happens." Cameron shook her head. "He stops things before they happen." Drew rolled his eyes. This isn't some action movie. But that very evening, a commotion broke out near baggage claim. An argument turned into a fight, shouting, shoving, glass bottle raised. By the time airport security was halfway down the corridor, the bottle was gone. On the floor. Broken. And used. The two men? Separated. Breathing, stunned. And Mr. Gate? Standing 5 feet away. He hadn't touched anyone. But he'd said something. One word. Witnesses couldn't agree on what. But whatever it was, it ended the moment. When pressed later, he only said, they just needed interruption, not punishment. Even Drew paused after hearing that. But the incident sparked more questions. Luis brought a repair team to check the ceiling cams. They'd been glitching near gate 32. That's when they found it. A square metal plate, tucked behind a ceiling tile. Not wired. Just wedged. Cameron opened it carefully. Inside, a folded patch, laminated. JTF, Joint Task Force, Overseas Recovery Unit. No one admitted placing it. Mr. Gate just watched from his seat. That night, as Cameron finished her shift, she asked him, "Why here? Why this gate?" He answered, "Because this one faces west, and the sun's too strong to see what's coming unless you're used to squinting." It made no sense, but it also made all the sense in the world. Some people don't sit where they do for comfort. They sit where they have the best vantage point. If someone you know chooses seats like they're still protecting something, drop watching west in the comments. It wasn't until the storm hit that everything changed. A late-season squall grounded flights, flooded the lot, and knocked out power to half the terminal. Cameron stayed late, helping rebook stranded passengers. Drew grumbled about backup protocols. Luis brought towels and flashlights. But when the emergency lighting flickered near gate 32, something strange happened. Mr. Gate stood, pulled out a small case from his pack, opened it. Inside, a radio. Not civilian. Military band, analog tuned, compact, and scarred. He adjusted the dial and pressed transmit. Sunset Ridge Terminal, Gate 32 blind. Power down. Winds pushing 38. Send ground evac for outer ring. Multiple civilians in holding. Cameron's jaw dropped. "Who are you?" He kept scanning frequencies. Then, calmly, "Evac on standby." Repeat. Ground crew rerouted. One unit disabled. Security rushed over. "Sir, you can't." But then the regional fire chief, who'd arrived minutes earlier, looked at the man and stopped cold. "Wait. Ash. Rob Ashwood." The old man turned. "Didn't think you'd remember me. You were with 3rd Recon. Camp Dwyer. You pulled 2 from a flipped convoy in '06. I was one of them." Everyone froze. Cameron whispered, "Rob Ashwood." He nodded once. "Captain. Retired. Joint Task Force 8. Silence hung in the air. He turned back to the window, still watching the wind beat across the tarmac. That night, when power returned, someone pinned a note to the break room bulletin board. "He never stopped serving. We just stopped noticing." And from that day on, Gate 32 had a new label on internal schedules. Ashwood Watch, active. If someone in your life never asked for recognition, but changed everything just by showing up, type he never left in the comments. Service doesn't end. Sometimes, it just finds a new gate. After the storm, Captain Rob Ashwood wasn't just the quiet man at Gate 32. He was now Sir to the TSA team. To Luis, Cap. To Cameron, simply, Rob. He still didn't wear a uniform. Still didn't make noise. But the airport moved differently around him. TSA started running drills 10 minutes early, because Rob once murmured, "Time lost starts before the clock does." Cameron changed the rotation of gate assignments. based on a sketch Rob drew of terminal traffic during emergencies. It worked. Boardings became smoother. Even Drew, the once skeptical manager, caught himself echoing Rob's phrases in staff meetings. Then came the day a flight from Denver rerouted to Sunset Ridge due to weather. Full flight. Families. Infants. And a veteran suffering a panic attack in seat 22C. He couldn't move. Didn't want to. Froze mid-aisle, clutching his chest. Medical crews stood by. But the passenger kept whispering, "Not again. Not again." They called for Rob. He didn't hurry. He walked. Boarded quietly. Sat beside the man without speaking. After a moment, he leaned close and said, "Still with you. We never left you there." The man looked up. Tears. Nod. Breath returned. They walked off the plane together. When asked later what he'd said, Rob just replied, "Not everything needs repeating." That evening, Caleb, a young gate trainee, asked him why he still came. "You don't have to watch anymore." Rob smiled. "I know. That's why I do." Luis left an extra coffee on the windowsill beside Rob's seat now. Cameron placed a small plaque behind his chair. Gate 32, observation honorary. No one dared move it. Not even cleaning crews. Some people stopped showing up for duty. Others simply change how they report in. If you've known someone who leads without saying "follow me" type, he still shows up in the comments. For the first time in months, Rob didn't come. Cameron noticed first. Then Luis. Then TSA. The chair at gate 32 stayed empty. No backpack. No folded coat. No quiet nod. By 4 p.m., Cameron walked down to security. Checked records. No one matching his name had scanned in. She called local hospitals. Nothing. Luis muttered, maybe he took a day off. But none of them believed that. Not really. At 5:18 p.m., an envelope arrived at the front desk. No stamp. Just a name. Cameron. Inside, a folded sheet, handwritten. Watch the crowd, not the clock. R.A. That night, a woman arrived just before closing. Wore boots that had walked through sand. Voice calm, precise. Introduced herself as Captain Lee. She said, "I'm here on Rob's request." Cameron blinked. "He sent you." He said it was time to rotate posts. Lee sat at gate 32 like she'd always belonged. Didn't ask for coffee. Didn't introduce herself again. She just watched. Same chair. Same angle. Luis approached. "You replacing him?" "No," she said. Continuing. Later that week, Cameron received a small box in her locker. Inside, a patch, JTF 8, retired active. A photo of gate 32 during golden hour. A short note. "When the mission changes, we adapt. But we do not vanish." Cameron framed it. Hung it behind the counter. The plaque stayed. But now, 2 chairs sat at gate 32. One labeled honorary. The other? Active watch. Some legacies aren't carved in stone. They're handed off in silence, seat to seat. If someone ever passed you their post without fanfare, drop watch continues in the comments. It wasn't official, but people started referring to it as Ashwood Protocol. Gate 32 became the designated fallback spot during communication issues. Staff routed first responders there when systems lagged. Even pilots stepped inside for updates when the tower glitched. And Captain Lee? She didn't just watch, she listened. Once, she intercepted a garbled overhead page and calmly relayed the correct terminal to a deaf couple who looked lost. No one had taught her sign language, but she used her hands like someone who had earned understanding. Cameron asked her, "Did he teach you all this?" Lee shook her head. "He never taught. He showed." That day, a package arrived addressed to Operations Supervisor, Gate 32. Inside, a vintage field radio. Polished. Rewired. Repaired. And a sticky note. "When it's quiet, listen harder. R.A." Caleb wired it into the gate desk panel. Tested it once during routine check-in. It caught a delayed flight's manual distress ping before tower reception. The flight landed safely 6 minutes ahead of protocol. No one applauded. They just turned, for a moment, toward Rob's old chair. Empty, but never unmanned. Luis kept saying, "I feel like he's still watching us somehow." Cameron smiled. "That's because we learned to watch like he did." That evening, a young traveler approached Gate 32. "Is this where that vet helped the guy during the blizzard last year?" Cameron nodded. He asked, "Is he still around?" She looked at the 2 chairs, one filled, one not. "He's not far. Some people leave a gap when they go. Others leave a grid. If someone once taught you how to watch every detail so their eyes could finally rest, drop signal steady in the comments." Spring came to Sunset Ridge quietly. Flights picked up. Families returned. But something in the terminal stayed the same. Gate 32 still had its chairs. One for the shift. One for the shadow. No one moved them. Not even during renovations. Captain Lee remained quiet and composed. She wasn't Rob, but she never claimed to be. She sat, listened, noted, occasionally stood. When asked if she'd be flying out someday, she replied, "Only when someone else arrives to sit here." One morning, Cameron came to work early and found a boy sitting in the honorary chair. 10, maybe 11. Jacket too big. Holding a worn patch in both hands. "Can I help you?" she asked gently. He looked up. "My grandpa told me to bring this here. Said this place knew him." He held out the patch. "JTF, 8 Oconus Recon." Cameron knelt. "What was your grandpa's name?" "Rob Ashwood." She smiled. "You came to the right gate." That day, the boy left the patch on the windowsill. They never moved it. Now, every evening, just before sunset, the light hits that patch and turns the glass golden. Some say it looks like someone's still sitting there, even when the chair is empty. Maybe they're right. Because some missions don't end. They echo. If someone ever trained you so well their lessons stayed behind, even when they couldn't, say their name in the comments. Or just write gate held. If you like this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let YouTube promote stories of kindness.